One thing, let's spin it off, actually. Like I alluded to, we will actually, on this episode, by the way, boys, I'm going to remove the moratorium on talking about the shit teams. We're actually going to talk about all the bad teams, because, by the way, they've all got wins now. They've all even been relevant to some degree. Let's talk about the aforementioned BDS, who, by the way, absolutely, go watch the game. They could have won this game against Vitality. Right? The first thing that has to be said, it's from that game, and when I'm thinking of it as well, Dom, is this. Right, as much as everyone's rightfully given Syncrov tons of credit individually, like Loki genuinely looks at one of the best junglers in the whole LEC, despite the fact his team probably won't make playoffs. I think beyond Syncrov, these last few weeks, I know people are going to think there's obvious bias here because he's a friend of our shows and he's been on all our content. I actually think, dude, this team actually Loki is showing that Grabs has like fucking value as a coach. Like, their early game, that has to be from the coach. It can't just be the jungler only. Like, because if you look at people like Adam, mate, the second the mid game arrives, you know it's arrived because he has no fucking clue what's going on. Like, he's like some fucking kid playing Ocarina of Time for the first time. Like, oh, I'm up in this big open world. Wow, I'm off here. I'm off on an adventure. It's like, mate, where the fuck are you going? Like, where's your macro? So to me, like, I look at their team. Like, I even think some of the drafts he's done the last few weeks have looked pretty good, mate. Like, actually, as much as like, listen, you're never going to really get credit if you're on one of the worst teams, unfortunately, from fans, but I actually think there are some elements of BDS that I can at least praise some aspect of it, even if the team fundamentally is on a good roster, you know.
I mean, they should have won literally like their last 6 games or some shit. They have massive leads every game, and the thing that's probably so heartbreaking is that it's like a different problem every fucking game. So it's like they'll have a problem, they'll correct it. Okay, next week. Oh, what's that? Oh, I guess we fucking opened our next. Oh, never mind. We didn't know how to do split push. Oh, we over prioritized this objective. There's a new problem, and like at the end of the day, I just feel like his players don't see what's actually happening in the game, that they're just like trying to follow this roadmap and they don't have the vision to like be able to see what is happening in front of them and actually win the game. And that's the hardest thing, because as a coach, like, you can't coach every single aspect of the entire game. You have to rely on your players for something. They have to be good at playing the game. Like, you can make improvements, and it looks like they're making improvements, but every time I watch BDS, I say the same thing. I even tweet out the same thing. I'm like, oh, they have a huge lead. I wonder how they're going to fuck it up this time, because it's always different. And that's what makes me feel like it can't be coached, because at some point, like, teams that actually have players that know how to win are just going to go back to like playing the game. They'll know how to win in the game. Like, you can't coach every single circumstance that will ever arise in League. At some point, your players actually need to be able to read the situation for themselves and have enough inherent game knowledge that they can solve whatever small problem is going to be different in the game than whatever you encountered in practice, because there's too many champions in the game. There's too many different situations. You have Rise drafts, you have TF drafts, you have champions that function really uniquely on side lanes. You have champions that are killable, champions that are not killable. You have different situations at Dragon where you'll be like poking versus like trying to like play for a disengage, or you'll be trying to find an angle to all in. There's too much here. So maybe if they have a little bit more time, they could do something in summer, but I just feel like this team would be so much different if they had just one person on it that could like help Syncrov in the late game, because he kind of falls into the same trap that most junglers fall into, which are these early game junglers that don't make their money by straight mechanics. They make it by being smart. Generally are like slightly worse at team fighting. They don't have like the team fight vision to like get like the huge engages or find the multi-man angles that a lot of other players that will be more, you know, mechanically intensive, they will be able to find those types of engages. So he's not going to be somebody who's going to carry them in the late game. Like, so one of their carries is going to actually have to start stepping up and being able to do that. And it seems like no one has been able to do it up until this point. But the thing that's really tough about BDS is like, do you make roster changes now where it looks so close? Like, it looks like you're almost winning. You're really close to winning. You couldn't get any fucking closer to winning without winning, as they did versus like SK, for example. Like, they're literally losing to trying to go to Dragon and having their base ran at by 5 people. I mean, I don't know. What do you do?
Like I say, I even think, like, to me, like, because essentially we do the same thing in Counter-Strike, if you don't know. Like, people were real experts in Counter-Strike. You don't judge the leader. In Counter-Strike, you actually have, like, essentially one shot caller for most teams, the in-game leader. We don't judge the in-game leader as to whether you win or lose the game. Only a pleb does that, right? What you do is you watch the game, and essentially what you say is, like, what reasonably could he have done? So if in Counter-Strike, for example, your in-game leader calls the right strats that you get into the bomb site, like, you know, let's say, like, 75% of the time, and you get the bomb down, you get in position, at that point in time, everything beyond that's the players. Like, you can't control them. Like, if they misplay a fucking fight or they push at the wrong time, they didn't. It's not his fault they lost the round. So to me, for the coach, what I have to ask is like, does it look like you know how to draft for your players? Does it look like you know how to set up the early game so you at least like the basics before people are stronger than you? Like these things, actually, BDS is nailing, mate. They're killing that. So that's why I say the tragic thing is, I know to like a pleb fan, they're not really going to give Grabs any. In fact, if anything, they're probably going to see, he was shit. He needed perks and them. Like I actually think this team shows that if he, like as you say, if he just had even like either one player was like a split smarter or like one better shot caller, I think this team would put it so they'd be in contention to make playoffs if you look at the mess that we're in right now in the LEC.
I mean, if this team had Vetio on it, it would literally just be misfits. Like it would literally just be like that caliber of team, like just doing really well in the standings.
There is one other thing there's one other conclusion I've come to, Dom, and I'm going to phrase this specially, and if people are too stupid to get it, then they don't get it, okay. Which is, after watching Matty play for the whole split, Targamas really is fucking good, isn't he? Anyway,
really is.
So
a weird correlation.
I hope people get the joke there, but anyway, you get the joke.
So here's something I want to throw in on BDS as well.
Go on.
One of the issues that I have is I feel like because things went so poorly when Synchro was playing well in all those games, he's starting to do what some junglers do, where they're like, oh, I have to just go beyond my actual limitations in order to win games. Okay. So like when you see the Gwen, no, but, I mean, it happens, right? Like I've been there. I've been there as a pro player, where if you lose so many games in a row doing what you know is good, you're like, yeah, I mean, it's just not going to work with this team. Like if I'm playing a champion like Jarvan that is like, I mean, it gives some early pressure, does some early dives, whatever, but like it's actually kind of shit in the late game and I can't carry the fucking game alone, I'm going to have to do something else. So now I feel like when I saw the Gwen jungle come out and those types of picks, I'm like, this isn't enabling Synchro to actually be Synchro, because that champion just essentially has to farm and then carry team fights, which if you go off my description of him earlier is the actual opposite of what
that's
I think
like a self-made champion. Yeah,
exactly. That's a self-made champion.
Yes.
So now to win, he's trying to be self-made, but actually the rest of the team is improving. So I don't want Synchro to start going off on this, like, I need to fucking carry the game. Like, all right, it's time. The Synchro of Kiana is coming out. And then he's just going to like vomit on himself in a team fight and completely lose the game for his team. Like, I want him to just keep on doing what he's doing and have like a little bit of faith that everything else is going to work out eventually, because they are close in other aspects and they have made improvements in other aspects.
Yes.
For example, if they played that Mad Lions game last week, where they just engaged like 8 team fights in a row that were fucking terrible and lost the game. It wasn't actually 8, but you know, I'm obviously exaggerating for the point of, entertainment and shit. So if they played that game right now, I think they'd win that game. I don't think they would throw the same way 8 times in a row in that circumstance. And if Synchro plays that good of a game, I think he'll win. It just right now, I feel like it mentally breaks you as a jungler losing all these games where you're doing intelligent pathing. Oh. It really fucks with you, because you just feel so useless at a point. You're like, damn, well, I guess I'll just play Jarvan another game and just watch as we get absolutely fucking railed once the mid game hits. I just want him to keep on doing what he's doing. He's so close. He's so close. And his teammates are getting better. If he wasn't on Gwen in that SK game, I think they'd probably win. They're actually that close. So I just don't want too much to change, because it's hard to improve when other things are changing. You know, like you have to have the building blocks. And I feel like Synchro is that foundation for the team. They have one of the best early game junglers who understands the map early game. He can get them fucking leads. Now you need to make sure you're consistently still getting those leads so you can solve the problems that show that you've solved the problems that you actually have earlier in the split.
Oh. He's also another player, by the way, just like Vethiel, where, like, spoiler, these guys will not be on their current orgs if they keep playing the way they are playing. Like, these will be, like, the most contested people in the fucking offseason. It's just obvious. This video was kindly supported by Ahmed Hadjou, Iskander, Mac Pugnatio Rajcula, Travis Goff, Adam Ochs, Animosity, Butt Pounder 420, Hades, Jensen Goh, Joseph Ginsburg, Kovacevicd, Tobias Bernasconi, Toucan, William Peyton Lacy, Zoomba, Zyrathenia, and a special thank you goes out to Jerky's Minion as always. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for some of my content? Want to ask me a question in my monthly video AMA? Do you want teasers? Find out who the guests are going to be on my shows. Maybe you want to be part of one of those lengthy but in-depth and interesting discussions about esports with yours truly. Well, if so, put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.